Hello, everybody, and welcome to Church at Home with Rachel. I think this is probably going to be, I don't know, Tuesday, the 16th of June. I am recording this on the 6th of June as I sit on my deck and wait for a thunderstorm to roll in. It's kind of cool. And I just got thinking how nice it is, first of all, to be able to be outside and do this and how incredible technology is. I would never have guessed 5 years ago that I would be doing this. I had a conversation earlier today, a Zoom meeting in which somebody was talking about the early days of COVID and sharing with her boss that um, she believed that this would change the world, that it would be an era ending, era beginning thing, and that we'd all have to start focusing and thinking about things differently. And I realized that how true that is. That every once in a while we come across those things in our lives or in society that just absolutely shake up everything we've known and create us to sort of have a reset. It's kind of like when your computer goes in the blitz and they say if in doubt, in extreme doubt, pull out the battery and then do a hard restart. You might lose the things you've been working on, but at least you'll be able to, get moving again. And thinking about that and thinking about what's happening in our world, in our lives, the world is upside down right now. At least it feels like it to me. And it's really hard to think about what things might be like in a year or two or four or 10 when it's hard to know what tomorrow is going to be like. And right now, my household is like that because um, Rob. Rob is in a time of discernment. As some of you may know, he medically released from the military a year ago, just over a year ago. And he's been taking web design and things at Algonquin College. No, not Algonquin, at Assiniboine College here in Brandon. Algonquin's in a different place. Um, and I think he's been doing like well. He's not a super student. He's an old guy going back to school with a whole bunch of kids who know how to code because that's what they're in school. But he's learning well enough, and I think he's enjoying aspects of it. But he's still a priest at heart. He's still called to serve at heart. He's still a chaplain at heart. And recently he has been one of 6 people nominated that the Holy Spirit may lead to become the bishop of the Anglican Military Ordinariate. Some of you who are watching this already know this. Many probably won't. And this is a different kind of election for a bishop because it's not typical diocesan election where everybody gets together and all the synod reps get to vote. This is the um, active and reserve chaplains who are Anglican in the Canadian Armed Forces, and I think about 10 lay people who are Anglican. I think probably all of them are, most of them anyway, are serving members of the military who happen to be Anglican as well. And they'll vote on the 23rd of June. They'll determine who their bishop will be. And while a large part of my heart hopes that Rob will get elected, I know he can do the job. He'd be a phenomenal bishop. The role of the bishop ordinary for the armed forces, the Canadian Anglicans in the armed forces, is so incredibly different than being a diocesan bishop, which is what I am. And so Rob and I are completely different. But I see him, I know that he could do the job extremely well. I also know that if it's not the Holy Spirit's decision that he get elected, that God has something else prepared for him. But it's hard to sit in these in between times and walk alongside someone else who is waiting. Now, as far as I can tell, he's waiting fairly calmly, a lot more calm than I was before my election. Um, and I think he's sort of waffling between wanting to be elected and terrified that if he is, will he be able to do it? Which tells me his heart's in the right place. I wouldn't want anyone to be elected bishop if they were 100% certain that they were called to be a bishop. There needs to be a sense of humility and wonder and absolute terror about the work you're called to do. And that I do share from experience. But at the same time, I know that we're called to pray that God's will be done. I know we're called to understand that there are things that are going to happen in the world for whomever becomes the bishop. You can go to be a bishop in Canada till you're 70. So he's 57. So, for instance, if he was elected, He could be a bishop for 13 more years, and who knows what the world will look like? Who knows what the bishop world in the Anglican Church of Canada will look like, let alone what it would look like to be a bishop for the armed forces. This is not, he wouldn't be putting on the uniform again or anything like that. As a matter of fact, there's a couple of people who are nominees who are currently serving, and they would have to retire from their positions within the military to take on the role of being the bishop ordinary. So this is a big decision, a big piece of discernment for all 6 people who are on the ballot. But it's it's hard to wait. It's hard enough to wait when it's your own thing. Like I've mentioned before about when I was applying for a job in Halifax and asked God, I heard God's voice or a voice say to me, "Why do you worry?" And then I felt compelled to pray for all 5 of us who were being interviewed. But that was my own I was worried about. It's something else when we see a loved one or a friend having to wait for whatever it is they're going through, whether it's an illness or something heavy and they're waiting for a doctor's call about a diagnosis or a treatment plan, or waiting for a job to come through or not, or an election. It's hard to sit on the sidelines and know how to pray for that person, how to pray God's will be done, how to listen to those same words. Why do you worry? I need not worry about Rob or any of the candidates, because if it is God's will, whoever is elected to be the bishop ordinary, they will be the Holy Spirit's choice, and hence the Holy Spirit will give them the gifts that they need, help them to open their eyes to see the resources and the people around them that they will need to lean on, to ask advice of when they move forward. But as I said, it's different when it's someone you care about, and there's not a thing you can do to wait with them except to come alongside them, to listen, to pray for them, and to try not to pray your will, what you would want, or even their will, what they would want to be the answer, but to pray, continue to pray, God's will be done. I have spoken before that every one of us has a vocation, and only if and when we all are willing to live into the plan that God has, the vision that God has, the artwork that God is creating of this world, only when we agree to paint with the color or the brush that God asks us to, or to narrate with the words God gives us, will we be able to bring into fruition the vision, the artwork, the painting, the beauty that God is beholding in God's eyes for what this world can be. And so we all need to be able to let go and let God, as pithy and contrite as that might sound. We need to let go and let God. So I'm trying to let go and let God be in Rob's life and in the lives of the other 5 candidates, that when the time comes, the right decision will be made. And although I know that both of us will be disappointed if he does not elected, we will also know that that wasn't God's will. And we will know that there is something out there. There is a job, a work, a vocation that God has set out for Rob to do that is more suited to who he is and will better be able to bring about the plan God has. And if he is elected, well, we will celebrate and we will appreciate the people who allowed themselves to discern and be present with them. The fact is that God's doing incredible things in all of our lives all the time. And a lot of the times we're certain that this is exactly the way it really should go. God is the one saying, but I have a bigger view. You may think that this is exactly what you need right now in this moment, but give me a minute. Give me a month. Give me a year. Give me 10 years, because there's something that you can't see that I can. And whether that's good news, a new job or an election or a relationship coming, or if it seems to be bad news, we need to be willing to walk alongside the people that we love and care and support, that we can do the work of helping them understand that God's will, if God's will is done, then all shall be well, and all shall be well, and all manner of things shall be well. And so I am learning to simply come alongside and pray and wait. How about you? God bless you. Have a great day. I'll see you again soon for Church at Home with Rachel.